Is there a concrete way to ensure that we change? What causes change? I think a lot of us in life aspire to change minute and mundane aspects of who we are in order to fit in with society or to make ourselves more comfortable in whatever reality we so choose to be in. However, I notice that oftentimes we try not to change. We view change as a negative thing, something that's impeding who we are, because I feel like a lot of people try to have these grand assumptions or instantiate these identities of who they are and associate themselves with something they aren't. That is to say that many people, including myself at some point, get stuck in whatever identity they prescribe to themselves or have prescribed to them by the environment or society that they live in. And it's not a good thing. I think that it's okay to have like a first prescribed identity, like the thing that's given to you by your parents, like your name, your environment, that stuff builds you up. But there does come a time where responsibility takes in and you have to be responsible for who you are on every level. And I think the first part about altering that first prescribed identity is change. Being able to change who you are, being able to attack the parts of yourself that you want to be different. And I'm not just saying like attack as in like relinquish or just give up on, because everything is a part of you. It's not something that you can necessarily just let go. You just have to change it into something else. It works in the same way as energy. Who you are is within a certain space, and you can't let go of any part of that or you cease to be yourself. So to change on a real level, you have to just attack the parts and pieces inside yourself and change them into something better. And I know the first step is like, in my experience, is just changing your reaction to certain stimulus, changing the way at which you perceive the world, the way at which you allow yourself to experience and react to everything around you. Because we're not much but a reaction with memory. A lot of what we do and who we are is based on how we react to certain stimulus. And I feel like the more and more we're able to alter that, our reaction, the more and more we'll be able to fundamentally help out who we are. And it's also part of the reason why I feel like the like healing culture or self-help culture isn't necessarily working. We're told to relinquish parts of ourselves in order to be better, but we're just running from ourselves in expectation that we'll outrun it, but it's with us the whole time. The more we try to outrun ourselves, the more we just are wasting time. You can't outrun something that is you. So you have to learn how to accept who you are. Learn how to change those parts of yourself that you dislike so you can be holistically comfortable in your own skin. And another thing is perspective. An easy way to change your reaction to something is change your perspective at which you take on it. When you get down to it, a lot of our reactions are a choice that we make inside of our head. You know, just like when you stub your toe, you don't have to wail out, scream. Sometimes you can just bear it and just be like, oh, that hurt. You know, separate yourself from the situation in order to keep your mind conscious of what's going on. And I think we can do the same thing in like dialogue or any situation like that. Separate our reaction from the stimulus. Because I feel like some of that stuff is taught, it's learned. Sometimes we're taught to react in certain ways in order to maybe express ourselves in society, but ultimately that somewhat deters us from who we are, our consciousness. It forces us to prescribe to somewhat of a some calculated expression. I think that emotions are a great thing. I don't want to be misinterpreted in saying that um, some expression is learned, because all expression is a learned thing. We have to perceive a society, perceive interaction in order to do it. I'm just saying that sometimes people are overwhelmed with emotion and they do things that maybe aren't beneficial to them in the long run or beneficial to those around them. And I feel like if you ever have the possibility to make sure you don't do anything that you regret or that others around you may interpret you as a worse person or whatever, I think you should take that. I feel like most of the point is to become better. So it's not to say like relinquish all your emotions, because I feel like emotion is very important. You should feel everything you feel. That's like one of the easiest ways to get an own grip and on your own perceptions and your own, reactions to certain things. Be like, oh, this is the way I am because I'm reacting to this way. And I feel like it has to come from you in order to be somewhat genuine. But I feel like that's one of the most important things. It's not so much to, you know, label yourself, but to generate your own identity. A lot of people who allow others to create their identity often find themselves stuck in who they want to be and who they are perceived by society. So I feel like any implication would be to somewhat ignore others, because ultimately you're the only one who can perceive everything. Only 1% of you or who you are is a physical, viewable something. The other 99% is invisible. So you have to kind of take that onto yourself and take all these critiques with a grain of salt. Or grain of salt, maybe a little bit more. Because I feel like sometimes when people get too delved into like self-help and betterment, they relinquish everything having to do with the external and label everyone who has a contradicting opinion as an enemy. But I feel like we have just as much to learn from others as we do from ourselves. Just because someone is telling you you are a certain way doesn't mean that they're right, but it doesn't mean that they're 100% wrong. The way in which people perceive you is a good thing to be aware of. I feel like if you lack knowledge of it, if you're ignorant of other people's perception of you, you're bound to make decisions and do things that would cause you undoing. And I feel like even if you're not caring about what other people think, you should still be aware. It's one thing to want to maintain a certain image, and it's one thing to want to be a certain way by a certain set of people. I think everybody should strive for a positive image, should make themselves better. I want people to be so good internally that their image just reflects whatever they have going on inside. That doesn't mean neglect everything around you. It just means to separate yourself from it. Realize that your ego doesn't have to be within everything. You don't have to take feelings and be stimulated in terms of who you are by things that are outside of you.